NBC 11's Ethan Harp was the only Bay Area television journalist who saw the arrests as they happened.
5 a.m. downtown San Francisco.
I'm just going to go.
In a parking garage, two teams from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detail study their game plans, profiling their targets before hitting the road. Before 7 a.m., they make it to their first address in Fremont, going after and finding a man convicted of drugging and raping a woman. His green card now in jeopardy, his arrest leaves a woman and child behind at the home. ICE agents say these are not raids or sweeps, instead calling them targeted operations, carefully choosing who they are looking for.
It's just such a hot issue. I mean, there's people obviously on both sides of this. You know, it's a very passionate issue.
Most of the more than 2,000 undocumented immigrants picked up just since October have already been ordered back to their homeland by a judge.
Hi, sir. Hey, how you doing, police?
Okay.
The man arrested at this San Jose apartment will be flown back to Mexico by midnight tonight. As important as it is for these agents to find the undocumented immigrants they're looking for, they also believe it's important to separate perception from reality.
You know, you'll hear stories that we'll go into a house and that, you know, we just leave children behind and we're leaving little kids behind, or we're going on schoolyards and we're terrorizing children. We're not doing that.
It's part of the reason ICE is granting NBC 11 News unprecedented access to show what they say their work is really about.
The last house that we were at, you know, we made sure that the lady knew where this guy was going. We gave her a business card. We asked her if she had any questions, if he had any medical problems, concerns.
ICE flatly denies it has ever gone to extremes, such as plucking people out of Bay Area churches or schools.
What we saw today is ICE clearly went by the rules.
Attorney Mark Silverman, who works with undocumented immigrants, says it may be legally right, but morally wrong.
And these are people who got into deportation cases because they are so desperate to become legal that they fall victim to scams.
For so long, people were ordered deported and nothing happened to them.
That began to change 4 years ago.
I have two teams here in San Francisco, and they do this on a regular basis. They do this every day.
The crew we rode with in the South Bay found 3 out of 4 of their men, though the last one in Sunnyvale proved a challenge.
That car is the car that the work said is his work car. This red truck is the car he came out of this morning.
In most cases, ICE agents are not allowed to kick in the door or search the house without permission.
Do you know Roel?
Here, a relative says the man they want is at work in Santa Clara.
He drives a forklift or something.
But when agents head over there, the boss says it's his day off.
You know what, dude? We should roll back there and put pressure on those people, because I guarantee you that guy's in one of those back rooms.
As you might imagine, it's often a cat and mouse game for these agents. For example, we are back at this home in Sunnyvale for the second time today. The family later admits he's been here all along.
He wants to call his lawyer. I said, you can call who you want, but I mean, we're not going to leave.
When he finally comes out, no guns are drawn, and Uncle helps negotiate the peaceful surrender. He's taken to ICE's San Francisco office, booked, fingerprinted, and telling us he's worried for his kids.
First year in college, you know, and my youngest is first year in junior high.
Did you ever tell him there was a chance this might happen?
My oldest, I told him that.
Yet he does not blame ICE for enforcing the law.
I think the court system has, you know, they need to change a little bit for the family, you know.
No matter how you do it, you know, not everybody's going to be happy with the way you do it. I mean, we try to make the best of, you know, a situation that's probably not the best for the people that were just affected by it.
And they will keep doing it every day across the Bay Area. Ethan Harp, NBC 11 News.
But first tonight, an NBC 11 News exclusive. Former Governor Gray Davis on his own fall from power, and a man many blame for it. The Bay Area's top stories at 11 on 11 start right now. I'm Lisa Kim.
And I'm Alan Dutton. Former Governor Gray Davis is speaking out about the death of Ken Lay. The convicted Enron CEO suffered a massive heart attack early this morning. But Lay's death is doing nothing to soothe Davis's anger over what Enron did to California and his own political career. NBC 11's Ethan Harp is live at UC Berkeley. Ethan, what did the governor tell you?
Plenty, Alan. The UC system is the lead plaintiff in the nationwide class action lawsuit trying to get back billions of dollars for hundreds of thousands of people, many of whom lost their life savings when Enron collapsed. And those are the people Gray Davis is thinking about tonight as the Lay family mourns. Less than 6 weeks after a Houston jury convicted the Enron founder of fraud and conspiracy, Ken Lay died on vacation with his family in Aspen, Colorado. The heart attack that claimed the 64-year-old came before Lay was to be sentenced and have a chance to appeal. Enron became a household name in California during the 2001 energy crisis and the summer of rolling blackouts and soaring power bills that came with it.
Now that Ken Lay won't spend a day in prison, I think many of his victims are going to feel cheated.
While offering condolences to Lay's family, former Governor Gray Davis told NBC 11 News from his Los Angeles law office, Lay's death denies Californians due justice.
I really believe that Ken Lay and to some extent Jeff Skilling were con artists of the first order. This whole Enron was a flim-flam operation that misled people, overstated the case, brought pie-in-the-sky schemes to people, and if people didn't like them, they said, we just don't understand the new economy. I mean, this was a shell game, and it cost Californians $40 billion.
Davis puts the blame for the state's energy woes squarely with Enron. It may also have sparked the beginning of the end of Governor Davis. He was thrown out of office in the 2003 recall.
Well, I believe if Ken Lay and Jeff Skilling never set foot in California, I might still be governor. But my fate pales in comparison to the many people I was trying to represent.
The governor says what we went through 5 years ago could happen again because deregulation is still in effect in California. As for the lawsuit, it goes to trial in October. Live in Berkeley, Ethan Harp, NBC 11 News.
A state fish and game warden who was shot during a raid on a pot farm is now telling his story for the very first time. His ordeal is part of a growing concern over hidden drug dens. Ethan Harp tonight with a story you'll only see on NBC 11.
An extraordinary rescue watched by television viewers all over the Bay Area. A state fish and game warden shot in both legs during a raid on a marijuana grow hidden deep in the woods. Rugged, remote territory, yet just a few miles as the crow flies from Los Gatos. Dangling in that stretcher below the helicopter, 26-year-old Kyle Kroll, just 3 years on the job.
Did you ever worry this was it?
Yeah, a couple times I knew that where it was hit.
Now, back at work, but still feeling the effects with every step he takes, Kroll is sharing with NBC 11 News what he went through on that August morning. While he had the strength to wave as he was being brought to safety and help, things were much different in the moments just after he was wounded. It is deadly serious business, a battle between those who run marijuana farms and those fighting to stop them. If these wardens look more like soldiers, that's not by accident. For them, a simple trek through the hills comes with the risk of walking straight into jungle-like combat. Besides the obvious danger faced by people like Kyle Kroll, there are the not-so-obvious threats that worry fish and game wardens as well.
And that's why everything was dead in this channel for the better part of 5 or 6 miles.
Kroll and his veteran partner John Norse showed us up close the environmental damage left behind months and years later. Here in the hills above Gilroy, this tributary of Coyote Creek was contaminated. Even now, pieces of tubing can be found in the water.
All of this was full of pollutants, such as pesticide fertilizer mixed directly in the creek itself in large pools and then being pumped into the grow.
2 years after this farm was discovered, trees still show their scars.
Plants anywhere between 4 and 8 feet tall.
Down the way, yet another farm is still littered with hose line, binoculars, a flashlight, and a scope for a rifle. Just like the spot where Kroll was hit, this sits less than 5 miles from homes and businesses.
A lot of times you see marijuana kind of at the bottom of scale of severity or importance. Whether you look at it as a war on drugs, I really look at it as a war, against wildlife crime from our standpoint. It isn't victimless.
Few know that better than Kyle Kroll. He was part of a team moving in on a pot farm at the foot of the Santa Cruz Mountains near the eastern slopes of Mount Amanum.
Hiking through the brush and into the wilderness like this, and full camouflage, and with our tactical rifles and all our gear. And we moved into the grow, and that's when the shooting began soon after that.
The shot pierced both his legs with devastating results.
Pretty massive. I'd say you could probably set a grapefruit easily in the hole in the inner thigh here.
Kroll's rescue came only after 3 excruciating hours of waiting. While his fellow officers had returned fire, killing one gunman right away, another gunman was still on the loose. The area was too dangerous for an airlift.
What was the hardest part of those 3 hours?
Trying to fight off the shock, most definitely, because it took just gritting your teeth together, using every bit of energy to try and fight off the shock. It's like nothing else I can ever explain. You can't put it into words how hard it is to try and fight the shock off.
You know, at about the 2.5 hour mark, we were starting to get worried because Kyle was changing. You know, he was getting tired. It was hard to fight up that long.
John Norris was right next to him.
Losing a new young warden, you know, as motivated and fired up and good-hearted as Kyle is just something I never want to have to face.
Kyle Kroll's recovery had taken months. He didn't return to work until January. Work that is only expanding as more and more pot farms sprout up in the hills of Santa Clara County. He says he never thought twice about suiting up and roaming these hills again.
Just want to get back out there and just get as close to normal as I was before is my ultimate goal.
Trying to bring down the farms before they ever get off the ground. Ethan Harp, NBC 11 News.
One of the world's largest religions is gaining followers from a very unlikely community. A growing number of Hispanics are changing their religion and following the teachings of Islam. Tonight, NBC 11's Ethan Harp takes a closer look at why faith doesn't always equal tradition.
Sundown, one of the 5 times each day when Muslims gather to answer the call to prayer. This woman is among them. Her name is Raquel. She's 25, a senior in college, and part of a growing trend. Hispanics joining the Islamic faith.
My mother raised us pretty strict Catholic.
Yet in recent years, her studies and the war in Iraq opened her eyes to Muslims. Her interest came, went, and returned.
And a year ago, I felt the need again. So I decided to actually look further into Islam.
Until she finally converted once and for all just before last year's Ramadan. Doing so puts her in a growing group. Rough estimates from the Council on American Islamic Relations put the number of Hispanic Muslims at just 20,000 5 years ago. Today, that number is 75 to 100,000.
In '96, when I first converted, I mean, I literally only knew one Hispanic convert in the entire mosque, and now 50 to 100 easily.
Sharif Dorset works with new converts like Raquel. He believes there are strong similarities with Catholicism, but without the hierarchy. With more and more Latinos embracing Islam, both here and across the country, you might think the Catholic Church would have something to be concerned about. But here in the South Bay, we found a priest with a rather interesting reaction.
Obviously, we want everybody to be Catholic. On the other hand, we do want people to be close to God. And if people find closeness to God in Islam, say, I think we would prefer someone to be a good Muslim than to be a non-practicing Catholic.
Father Jose Rubio with the Diocese of San Jose hasn't seen much evidence for himself of Hispanics leaving the church for the mosque, but even if some are, he sees no reason for alarm.
We just need to be understanding and accepting and seeing this diversity as a gift from God.
That can be easier said than done. Raquel describes her mother as being a very tolerant woman, usually.
But the day I told her that I actually was going to convert, that was a little different. Yeah, she was upset. And I asked her, I said, where's all the talk that, that everything's, everyone has their own way of worshiping God. So she was upset at me for a few weeks, but not very long, She came to terms with it.
Tolerance is something Muslims like Dorset point to as one of their strengths.
In general, there's no real racism in Islam, so I'm a white Muslim and treated just like anybody else.
In Islam, I found that there's room for all kinds of people.
And in Hispanics like Raquel, Muslims hope they have a new voice to spread their form of spirituality. Ethan Harp, NBC 11 News.